Okay.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Detective, this was the recorded interview of the defendant?
Yes, this is the defendant and myself and Detective Curry are in the room.
I'll come in and talk to you, okay? Sir, I have you wait out in the hall. Yes, sir. No problem, sir. You can have a seat out here in the hall inside the hall. No. I'm second to this Detective Curry. I know this is very difficult, okay? You just got to get through it and get a statement from me. But because you are here at the Sheriff's Office, and we're here talking to you in here, I got to still let you know what your rights are, okay? Doesn't mean that you're arrested. It just means you got to know what your rights are because we're talking to you in a place you may not feel free to leave, okay? So, Detective Curry, I'll read those to you.
All right, Mr. Rhonda, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to talk to a lawyer and have him or her present when you're being questioned. If you cannot afford to hire a lawyer, one will be appointed to represent you before any questioning, if you wish. You can decide at any time to exercise these rights and not answer any questions or make any statements. Do you understand these rights as I have explained them to you?
Sure.
Okay, with these rights in mind, are you willing to answer some questions for us?
Okay. I know this is tough. I know it's very tough. Just kind of walk me through the day and what happened.
I picked her up about 8 o'clock. I usually keep her 2 days a week. So I work Monday at my other job, but some things that fell through, her husband only won't work night shift, so I went just Wednesday and Thursday
Okay.
at this place where I was at today.
The house where you was at today?
Which they have twins and a girl that I keep. Anyway, so on the same days, I pick up Ariya from her house, but today was an earlier day because the other lady needed me at 8:15, so I picked her up at 8 o'clock, which is usually 8:30. Anyway, so I picked her up, and I pulled through Burger King to get something to eat, but the line was too long, so I left and went to the job I was at.
On the State Street, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I got there at 8:15, and the baby was like, because she was asleep, she was quiet. And because I don't keep her every day, I forgot she was there. So I went inside, got busy with the other kids, and I even talked to the mom throughout the day, and it just didn't click
Right.
that the baby was outside.
So that was at 8 o'clock. What time did you realize the baby was outside?
When I was girl,
You know what time roughly that was?
one.
When 911 was called?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How many kids were in the car when you got home with her, when you got to that house today? Just her?
Just her.
Just her?
Mm-hmm.
And the other kids were there, I'm assuming you babysit them for the family that lives at that house? Is that what they were there, already there? The homeowner that lives there, what's her name, do you know?
Stacy.
Stacy.
Mm-hmm.
Did Stacy know that you was bringing the other child?
No, because sometimes I have her and sometimes I don't.
Okay, so she had no idea. And where did you park at the driveway?
In the rocks.
In the rocks?
Pulled off into the rocks.
Okay. And the only reason I'm asking, I didn't know if maybe they would have seen anything when they left, when they left there. The stuff that's in the car, the baby stuff, is that for that child?
Yes, sir.
Okay. How long have you babysitted this child? How many?
Since probably June.
Since June of this year?
Mm-hmm.
Does he do it every week or every day, or how does that work?
I was keeping her Mondays, with my other job, Monday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. But she come to me a couple of weeks ago, about a month ago, and said, hey, my mother-in-law's going to keep her on Thursdays, so we'll just have her Mondays and Wednesdays.
Okay.
And so, because I didn't have this other job on Mondays because of their work schedule. I was off I kept her on Monday, so I went and got her on Monday, and I've done all my errands in McClenny, and
Sorry.
I keep her till 1, till her mom comes and gets her. So I done all my errands in McClenny, and her mom come and got her
Right.
at 1 o'clock. That was on Monday, and on Tuesdays I have off. And on Wednesday I went to my other job, and I usually take her with me, but that was on Wednesdays. On Thursdays I didn't have her anymore. On Thursdays her mother-in-law kept her.
So you said, just to go back and reiterate, you said when you got there to the house on the State Street that she was sound asleep. Was the plan to come out and get her a little bit, or?
No, I normally just get out and get her and take her inside.
But I'm saying you said you noticed that she was asleep when you got there.
Well, I assumed she was asleep. She didn't want to make any noise.
Okay, she wasn't making any noise.
Yeah, I just picked her up, and her mom said that she would probably go to sleep. So I just assumed she had fell asleep, but she didn't make any noise.
Okay. And the questions that will come up is, is anything on your mind? Are you going through something personally that would cause you not to, think about it?
I mean, we have a kid moving to college, so we're doing that, and
Right.
we're going to London, and we're supposed to go on vacation tomorrow, and I mean, that's not an excuse to me.
I'm not asking you to make excuses. That's not what I mean. And I mean, the question is, it is possible to forget things, and even a child. And it's even more possible if you've got some type of stress in your life at the time that you're going through, that kind of thing, that would cause you to make that forgetfulness, So I didn't know if there was something like that going on in your life right now.
Just moving our kid to college, and this trip coming up in England, and we're supposed to leave it August the 2nd, and all of that, so, but.
Okay. No drugs or alcohol?
Oh,
Okay. All right, well, let your husband come back in here. We're currently talking to the sheriff of the state. We're going to figure out where we go from here, okay? So if you don't mind, just hang out in here for a little while. I'll have your husband come back in, okay?
So, Detective, during that interview, the defendant remembered picking up Ariya that morning.
She did.
And did she remember driving to the house on Estate Street?
Yes.
Did she remember going to Burger King?
Yes.
Did she remember the fact that Ariya was asleep?
She did.
Did she remember to get Ariya out of the car?
She did not.
Now, in the investigation in this case, without telling me what anybody else said, did you speak to other witnesses?
I did.
About how many?
Probably maybe four other people.
I want to talk about the timeline. We've talked about it a little bit, but the things that happened on July 19th. What time did you understand Ariya Page was picked up by the defendant?
My understanding was she arrived at the house at 7:50 a.m. and left at 7:55 a.m. She passed through the LPR at 7:59, and between 7:59 and 8:15 is when she went to Burger King and arrived at Estate Street.
So she was at the Estate Street roughly 8:15 a.m.
8:15, yes.
And during your interview, did you understand the defendant to say that she had communicated with the victim's mom?
She did when she first arrived there at Estate Street.
And when, based on your investigation, was Ariya discovered in the vehicle?
Around 1:12 at p.m.
So 8:15 a.m. to roughly 1:12 p.m.
Yes.
And In your investigation, can you tell the jury what the temperature was that day?
It was projected to be 96 to 98 degrees. I know in my vehicle, it gives you a display. I don't know how accurate it is, but it was roughly 98 degrees is what the temperature was showing.
One moment, Your Honor. Thank you, Detective. Attend to the witness.
Cross-examination.
Good morning. It's Captain now, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Captain Doherty, you indicated that you've been in law enforcement for about 24 years, give or take.
23 to 24, correct?
Some here and some in Clay County.
Right.
You said during your direct examination that you sent Detective Curry to the Estate Street address, correct?
That is correct.
And you and Detective Griffin, I think you said, went to the hospital.
That is correct.
And in the interview, that is Detective Curry's sitting there with you, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated that when you went to the hospital, you were advised that Ariya was deceased.
Yes.
Okay. So you went into the room where Ariya was and you looked at her body for any signs of trauma, you said.
Yes.
And that would be things like bruising, redness, anything that would indicate any type of possible abuse of any kind, correct?
Right. That is correct.
You saw none of that.
I saw none of that.
And I'm assuming that you've had some training in identifying signs of trauma, correct?
I have, yes.
So you would have noticed that had there been one.
Yes.
State Attorney, we'll be back up a little bit. Prior to going into the room to speak with Rhonda Jewell on the interview, had you spoken to her at all?
I had not.
Okay. And the interview room that we see is inside the Baker County Sheriff's Office Detective Division, correct?
Yes, the detective division.
Okay. And you have several rooms like this where you interview individuals.
We have two. We have one in patrol and one in investigations.
And these are all equipped with a camera that we see, correct?
Yes.
And that's to record the interview
Correct.
so that someone later on can hear exactly what somebody said.
That is right.
Okay. So when you were asked questions earlier by Mr. King about what Ms. Jewell told you, okay, both before and after we watched the video today, you would agree with me that what she told you would be what this jury saw on that video, correct?
That is correct.
So if your recall of that during your testimony was different, you would rely upon that video, correct?
Correct.
Captain, Mr. King asked you, was Ms. Jewell upset? And you said that she was upset and crying. I think is how you described it, correct?
Yes.
Now, she had been at the sheriff's office for a little while at this point, correct?
Yes, I believe that interview was around, if I remember what the clock said, around 2:40. 911 was called at 1:12, so.
You know about what time she arrived at the jail? I mean, at the sheriff's office?
I don't. I was at the hospital when she arrived there.
But she had been there for a while.
Yes.
When you arrived, she had been talking to another employee of the sheriff's office, correct?
That is correct.
Would you agree with me that when you first saw her, she was more upset than she appeared on this video?
Yes, she was crying. She was very upset. Probably crying more than what she did in the interview.
You would agree with me that what we see, she's calmed down some at that point, correct?
Yes.
Detective Curry read Rhonda Jewell her rights, correct?
That's correct.
And what are anybody's rights when they're being questioned by sheriff's office?
What are the rights?
Yes, sir.
That they don't have to speak to us. They have a right to have an attorney present. If they wish to talk to us, they can stop talking to us at any time.
And Ms. Jewell waived all those rights, correct?
She did.
She voluntarily told you, or talked to you in this case.
Yes.
She could have easily said no.
Yes.
In the video, we see Mrs. Jewell sitting there with what appears to be a white shirt and some type of light blue shorts, maybe.
Yes.
Are you aware whether or not she had changed her shorts before you interviewed her?
I'm aware that she was wearing pants that I was told that she had urinated in, and she had to change.
Was she changed by this time, or do you recall?
I don't recall.
Just to verify the license plate reader that we spoke about and we have a picture of.
Yes.
You said the time passing through the intersection was 7:59, according to the license plate reader.
I believe so, yes.
Any reason to doubt that's accurate?
I have no reason to doubt that.
I think Mr. King asked you a general question about how long it would take to drive from the Shuey Avenue home of Brooke and Justice Page to Stacy Pascal's home on Estate Street, correct?
Correct.
And you gave an estimate of that, right?
I did.
But that could vary, correct?
It could vary, yes.
Okay. You weren't aware of what the traffic conditions that particular day were?
I was not, however, I was at the sheriff's office. Had there been something major going on, I would have been aware of it.
But again, a slight traffic delay you wouldn't know about at the sheriff's office, correct?
I would not.
And again, you may catch all the red lights one day and all the green lights the next, right?
That's very true.
Okay. Just a moment. Detective Doherty, just to clarify a couple of quick points. You testified earlier that Mrs. Jewell told you that she forgot the child was in the car. Is that correct?
She did say that, yes.
At some point after this interview, did you or Detective Curry or anyone at your direction obtain Rhonda Jewell's cell phone that she had that day?
Yes, it was obtained. I believe 2 days maybe after that.
Okay. Was that at your request or your direction?
It was not.
Okay. Do you know who asked for that?
I believe Lieutenant Mancini asked for that.
Now, who is Lieutenant Mancini?
He is lieutenant over investigations.
So he's head of investigations?
Is.
Right. He hasn't testified here, but he advised somebody to get the phone, correct?
Yes.
Would it be fair to say that that phone was brought to you voluntarily?
Correct. It was.
Correct. There was no search warrant to get the phone, correct?
Not to get it, no.
Right. And the passcode for that phone was given to you voluntarily as well, correct?
To my understanding, yes.
And although you may not have done this, other detectives looked through that phone, correct?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
You may.
Captain, I'm going to ask you to look at what has been marked as defense exhibit 1 for identification,
Okay.
A1. Tell me what this is.
It is a cell phone blue in color with a, says flowered case.
Is that the cell phone of Rhonda Jewell?
I'm aware. I never had contact with the cell phone.
Mr. Nelson, if you got any more questions, let's ask them. We need to move on.
I have no questions.
Okay. Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. May we approach very briefly?
Yes. Mr. King, redirect.
Yes. Detective Dougherty, the cell phone defense counsel asked you about, you said it had been 2 days after that?
I believe that was the time frame, yes.
Do you have any knowledge of where that cell phone was for those 2 days?
I believe it went home with her husband.
So based on your investigation and communications with the defendant in this case, were you able to establish who was responsible for Ariya Page between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. on July 19th of 2023?
Yes, the defendant was.
No other questions.
Any other questions?
No, sir.